This back here is the bunk area, which Andy's gonna walk you through.
This is where the magic happens.
If you've watched AEW wrestling any time from 2019 till the present, no doubt you've seen the Butcher and the Blade. But did you know that the Butcher had a second career? Early on, while training to become a professional wrestler, Andy Williams suffered a knee injury. During that time, he learned how to play the guitar and formed the band Every Time I Die, along lead guitarist Jordan Buckley and drummer Michael Novak. Every Time I Die emerged in the early 2000s with an uncompromising mix of hardcore punk and southern rock-tinged alternative metal. The group built a loyal following, yet remained largely underground before inking a deal with Epitaph ahead of the releasing their acclaimed fifth long player, 2009's New Junk Aesthetic. Andy has played on every album the band has ever released and hasn't really missed a live show since they formed in 1998. Due to getting into music so young and being self-taught, his issues with learning to read music had to be solved alone, and the Butcher found a solution.
I'm not a numbers guy. So like that was one of my big things when I was in school. One of my biggest learning disabilities was just I can't remember numbers to save my life. You can put them there. I have to read it 100 times for me to even get it, you know? And once I kind of realized that that's really what real life is like, or like you have to go work in a place where like you have to pay attention to all this stuff. And my brain just doesn't work that way. So like once I could funnel it into music and kind of like get that ball rolling. And then once I realized like, oh man, I kind of know what a tune is. I can kind of like put this together. And then once I found like-minded dudes, then it got really easy. You know what I mean?
Did you find like other like coping mechanisms to kind of help with those things? I think the things that you did struggle to learn, you could find little ways around it that helped you figure it out?
100%. Like I have to like explain stuff to my fiance sometimes when it like the way my brain works, and especially with like music. Like I don't know how to read music, so like I just picked up a guitar and it just made sense. So like to me, it was more like Tetris than it was anything. I would just make these shapes up in my head and then I would just play these shapes. So like if I wrote out music to you, it would only make sense to me and the dudes I was in the band with. And
they learned your language.
They had to. So like a lot of it is like X's and O's, or I'll use like squares for certain things and triangles for certain things, or I'll describe like a feeling or something like that. So like if I'm going to write something that's kind of sad, I'm going to use like a delay pedal on it, or like there's like weird, or I'm going to do like high notes. And like it really turned into like more of like a video game to me than it did like
that's fascinating
making music. So that's like a lot of things, wrestling to me is like it's like writing a song. So like once I kind of like understood how to write that song, it was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like there's an intro, there's an outro, there's a chorus, there's you know, and it really does work like that. You know what I mean? Like it, you know, you need bridges and you need like stuff like that. So like wrestling still to this day is still kind of shapes and like weird colors and stuff like that. Like I'll see colors for certain things, which is like really weird.
Wow. That's amazing.
I heard that you are a wrestler.
Yeah, I have.
You gotta teach me how to wrestle.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have tights? You can't wrestle if you don't wear underwear.
Well, then I'm out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've been telling people on this channel to subscribe, and they won't.
Yes?
What can we do about that? Can you help me out? Maybe if you tell them to subscribe, they'll do it.
Threaten it. I'll threaten it for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. You don't have to do it till you're cursed.
When you wrestle, what's your name when you wrestle? Or do you just go by Andy?
I just go by Andy Williams.
Wow.
That's my name all across the board.
So they're like, hey, everybody, coming down the aisle is Dean the Destroyer and Andy. Doesn't really have much of a ring to it, does it, pal?
It really doesn't.
We gotta come up with a better name for
I gotta
you.
work on that.
Now, the band was really popular in the New York area, so when Andy would first go out and wrestle, they would lean on that fame, you know, book him as Andy Williams from Every Time I Die, and he would kind of dress the same way that he would dress on stage, you know. He would very much be Andy Williams from the band. Here he is wrestling. It was like a novelty act.
And that was the thing, man. When I first started wrestling, like, it was getting really boring because, like, promoters would hit me up and they'd be like, yeah, I got this great idea. I have the best idea for you. We're going to have our #1 heel say, oh, you want to be a wrestler? You're a music guy? And he's going to pull out a guitar. And he's going to make fun of you with the guitar. And then you're going to choke slam him. You cool with that? And it's like, I did that literally last weekend, dude.
But as they started to get more serious, and, you know, he was teaming up with the Blade, Jesse, and they formed this tag team. And Jesse told him, hey, you know, if you really want to be taken serious as a wrestler, you're going to have to start dressing like a wrestler. You know, you're going to have to fit in more and kind of drop this whole thing where you're Andy from, you know, Every Time I Die. And that's when they got really serious. And Andy, inspired by, you know, his love of, like, you know, movie tough guys, he came up with this whole concept of the Butcher and the Blade.
And Jesse would just one day just goes, you want to be treated like a pro wrestler, look like a pro wrestler. And I was like, okay. And I think I watched Running Man, and his name was the Butcher of Bakersfield. So I started calling myself the Butcher of Buffalo, Andy Williams, and then made a weird long jacket, started wearing tights.
In 2022, the band would break up.
But to have Every Time I Die come to an end, how has that been for you?
I'm still having problems. Like, I'm still having problems with it. It's, you know, my life was, like, it's the best way to say it is like it's alphabet soup, right? It's not like full sentence. You have to, like, look for, like, things, you know what I mean? So, like, my life was really just like a bunch of things just thrown at the wall. You know, that's the type of things that, like, when you're thrown in a van at 17, like, no one's really teaching you, like, life stuff. They're just kind of like, you just stay in a van. And then, like, when problems occur, you just get back in the van, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like you kind of have to, like, grow up really fast. And you realize, like, oh man, I thought I was grown up. And then all these things just kind of hit you, and you're like, oh man, that's okay. This is life. This is how life is without a van and a trailer. Like, you literally had people cater to you in a band for, like, years. And now it's like, I had a tour manager, and I had a manager, and I had, you know what I mean?
This series of events would lead to Andy rededicating himself to wrestling and putting on some of his best matches. With his gimmick now figured out, some people in the wrestling world didn't even know he was in a band.
I think someone tipped off Miro that I had played in a band, and then he, like, came up and he was like, someone told me you play in a band. And I was like, yeah, I do. And he's like, I want to know everything about it. There's people that don't know I play in a band.
In 2023, the Butcher would announce the old members of the band had come together to form another project.
We have the ability to have a new favorite band. We have the ability to follow this band and feel everything.
And that pretty much catches us up to where we are now. So now you see the Butcher all the time on AEW TV. He just had a match with Claudio as I'm recording this, so that was pretty good. And he said in the interview, I've watched a couple of interviews with him now, and he said in interviews that he's not really aspiring to be, like, the best wrestler in the world or whatever. He just wanted to be the way he was able to break in to professional wrestling. is by being kind of the guy that the hero needs to beat up before he goes and beats up the big boss, right? He's like the mini boss, was the whole idea. And he said, if you could be that guy, then you're always going to find work, because it's hard to be like the #1 star in professional wrestling. But like, you know, the heroes always need that, you know, that goon to go beat up. This guy's going to win the fight, but he's not going to win the war, right? I thought it was a really cool concept, like how he was so comfortable with his position. I think Andy's a really cool guy, and it gave me a new respect for the Butcher and the Blade. I know when I saw him come on the scene, I was like, man, these guys are always going to be mid-card. But it's kind of cool just knowing that they just like own that mid-card spot, and they do so well in it. Like, I've enjoyed watching the Butcher and the Blade now for years, and I hope I get to keep enjoying them for years to come. I find they're just fascinating guys. Andy in particular, it's amazing that he has like this whole other career that he had that, you know, I guess in 2019 with COVID and everything, the band wasn't able to tour, and he was able to keep wrestling because in Florida, they deemed wrestling to be like essential. So they wanted to keep things going. It's a big part of AEW lore is they kept things going in 2019, and the Butcher and the Blade were a part of that, which is really cool bit of history. But I don't know, let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. I thought this is a really cool story. These videos are really fun to make, so let me know what you think about them.
I really appreciate being on this channel. I mean, they told me I had to wear this top hat to come out here and say this stuff, and I don't know. Do you like the top hat? Leave a comment. Let me know if you like the top hat. And let me know if you like this video over here. And you can do it on my channel, and you can hit the subscribe button over here and help me out as well. That'll help me keep coming out on this channel and producing things with Grapple Vision. That it's been a really great experience so far, and I know that I've seen a lot of positive comments, so I want to say thank you to all the positive people out there leaving positive comments on this channel. The rest of you, you're all right. You're all right. Subscribe. Watch the video. Subscribe. Top hat. These are my normal clothes. This was my idea. Top hat, not so much, but I like it. It's a good hat. Solid.